Hello, my name is Mutua. This is Grace Impact. I want to speak to those who are married just like I am. Now, I want to say this that marriage is an institution where we are supposed to cultivate intimacy with one another because it is possible to be married and not be intimate, and it's also possible to have sex without intimacy. There is that issue of love making and just having a sexual relationship with someone. So, love making is more than just having a sexual intercourse. It is more than that. It is a process. And having sex should be a climax of an existing relationship with your spouse. It is not just about the sexual act, but a product of an existing existing relationship that has been there. You are bonding together, the time you spend together, your attitude towards one another, your affirmation of one another, your affection, the time you spend together, and your trust for one another, and the assurance you give to each other in that relationship. So it is possible to be married and yet lonely. Loneliness is that feeling of lack of intimacy with your spouse. The lack of intimacy, of course, will definitely create a vacuum, which many will seek to fill it. Even in nature, whenever there exists a vacuum, nature will tend to replace that particular vacuum, especially air. Air will tend to replace a vacuum environment, and that's how bombs work. The bomb, when there is a bomb, it will create a vacuum or it will displace air, and that air will tend to repossess or to reoccupy again or to fill that vacuum again. So nothing exists in a vacuum unless through certain condition. So you can be physically apart but not lonely, while physical proximity does not guarantee intimacy. You can be physically close to one another but still be very lonely. You can find or you can see two people seated at a table, maybe a husband and a wife, yet they are lonely. They are emotionally detached. Why? It is because of the quality of that relationship. When they are seated together in that room or in that table, they are not emotionally connecting because of the nature of activity. Maybe the husband or the wife, they are deep in their phone or in their phones. They are interacting with people out there in the social media, and yet they are together. Time when they're supposed to be spending together, or maybe they are glued on the television when they are supposed maybe to be bonding and to be strengthening their relationship. So you can be closely together, seated in the same room, and yet not emotionally connected. And that will cause you to be lonely. And of course, there will be creation of that vacuum which human nature will tend to fill. So your respect for each other, your eye contact or your ability to maintain eye contact when you are conversing with your spouse, listening skills, affirmation, having fun, finding areas of common interest that you can discuss. These things will help to build intimacy with your spouse. And it is important to do these things very deliberately, very consciously. Now, we are living in the age of ICT, but sometimes it is taking away the energy that we should have used to build our intimacy together with our spouses. Now, Paul, admonishing the church of Corinth in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 5, do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy and for a limited time so that you can give yourself more to prayer. Afterwards, you should to come together so that Satan wouldn't be able to tempt you for lack of your self-control. Paul is telling this church not to allow a vacuum to exist, and especially because of their lack of self-control with this regard. And so we should also work towards making sure there is no vacuum in our marriage, because the devil likes vacuum. And when that vacuum exists, somehow, even through nature, it will seek, someone will seek to feel it, because men are not designed to exist in a vacuum.